How exactly does one come up with a list of the underrated horror villains when horror itself is kind of a little bit of an underrated genre? Historically considered campy, unintelligent, preying more on emotion than logic, horror has often been left in the back seat, critically speaking.
Horror movies, mutilation, decapitation, torture. Does that sound entertaining?
There have been a couple of villains here and there, of course, who have managed to break out into our cultural canon and become a real part of our world.
What happened, man? Where did it all begin?
And then there are villains who are definitely appreciated, but maybe in more of a cult niche type of way. And then there are the villains that I and NSC CAMPOS are here to present to you today. The villains that definitely deserve more appreciation than they ever got. In no particular order, here they are, our underappreciated villains. Everyone from Nightbreed. Nightbreed is a very interesting example when we talk about villains because it was written by Clive Barker, who you probably know as the original writer of Hellraiser and Candyman. A common theme in Clive Barker's books is exploring this idea of monster and villain, often taking a critical look at the way that we as society define these two things. And as much as we can definitely see that theme very well in Hellraiser, I mean, look at the Cenobites. As much as they're definitely freaking terrifying to look at, they're not the villains of the story. Frank is. Frank, the normal human man who just meddles in the Cenobites' affairs. We also see that theme in Candyman. He has the most sympathetic backstory of any slasher villain, and when we are confronted by him in the movie, he's very charming. We almost want to join with him. It's weird.
Be my victim.
Mark me down as scared and horny.
And then in Nightbreed, we have the people of Midian, who are the visible monsters. But despite that, they aren't trying to hurt anybody. In fact, they're just trying to be left alone. It's the people that keep targeting them. And then on the other hand, we also have Philip K. Decker, actually played by Cronenberg. By the way, in case you didn't know, that's just kind of cool. Decker is a therapist who uses his authority for ill means, and he also kinda maybe kills people. Oops. Decker is the obvious monster in the movie. He's the obvious villain. And yet, despite that, nobody rallies against Decker. It's the people of Midian that they're angry about. It's the people of Midian that they want to get rid of. Whether you consider the villains of Nightbreed to be Decker, the townspeople, or the people of Midian, you can't deny that this is definitely an interesting story when it comes to the subject of villainhood.
Can they die?
What harm they ever done to you?
Can they die?
For number 5, I'm going with the ghost from the movie Shudder. Shudder is not a very known movie. There were 3 adaptations to it: the Japanese version, English, and the Hindi version. She definitely wants revenge, but she doesn't take revenge on anyone else, like The Grudge or The Ring. She only has a certain set of targets: the 3 guys that raped her and her ex-boyfriend. She kills the 3 guys and torments the boyfriend for the rest of his life. She doesn't kill the guy, like, you know, immediately. Like, she slowly just torments him, appears to him, and, like, trying to, like, scares the living crap out of him. And it does work, to the point where he's not even scared anymore. He just accepts his fate. She's actually pretty interesting, and to be honest, when knowing her backstory, it's just, you feel for her. She's not really a villain. You really wanted her to have a happy ending, but she kind of has a happy ending of her own. She got her revenge.
The Collector from Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. In the 90s, Tales from the Crypt came up with this idea to make a couple of movies. It was supposed to be this big trilogy that did end up happening, but not in the way that they intended. Anyway, Demon Knight was the first movie in this trilogy. And obviously it bombed because the movies after that were kinda eh.
Cheers, bye!
being said, Demon Knight isn't very good. It just has a few very good points to it, one of them being Billy Zane's performance as the Collector.
And via con diablos to you too, sir.
He is a demon who plays a very devil-type role. He is here to make deals and manipulate people until he gets what he wants, which is this weird shiny key thing that has Jesus's blood in it. I don't know, it's a weird movie, okay? But for all the failings of the script, Billy Zane brings an energy to this role that's just so fun to watch. For every joke that might not have landed, he injects humor that makes it work.
Of course, you don't mind if we kill the others, do you?
It makes you feel good, do it.
Makes you feel good, do it. Exactly.
Who's just so fun to watch through this whole thing. I don't think that I've ever seen him come to a terrible script and not bring something at least a little bit out of it, because I don't think I've seen him go to a very good script yet. I'm just gonna drink my water and move on from that joke. I don't know, I might edit that one out.
You will give me what I want, and the sooner you figure that out, the better.
For number 4, I'm gonna pick Lola from The Loved Ones. Lola is this high school girl that is looking for the perfect guy. And I think a lot of girls can relate to her, kind of. But her methods of finding the perfect guy is very odd and practically insane. So she falls for this guy in her high school, decides to ask him to prom. However, he has a girlfriend of his own, and he's gonna go to prom with her. So he turns her down. He didn't make fun of her or anything, but, he just, politely turned her down. She doesn't take the rejection too lightly. So she gets her dad to kidnap him and bring her into the basement of their house. And she has like a little problem of her own.
What are you looking at?
Of course, he's trying to escape. When he tries to escape for the first time, she hammers his feet to the floor with nails. And then she injects this thing in his throat. I don't know what it is, but it destroys his vocal cords to the point where he can't even scream anymore. And this family is very messed up. The dad does anything that the girl says, and he kind of has a thing for his daughter. Her character, you find out more about her. This isn't the first time she has done this before. She has kidnapped other dudes from other schools, and if they didn't fit the perfect guy quota, she would torture them and slowly turn them into zombies by pouring acid in their brains and just throwing them in the basement as like cannibals. And she would only feed them either body parts or pieces of trash. Lola is crazy, but she's a pretty awesome character.
The Gemini Killer from Exorcist 3. I'm sure that a lot of you have seen Exorcist by now, and I have a confession to make. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's definitely a well-made movie, and I think that it holds its weight within horror canon. But that being said, I'm just personally not a big fan of exorcism movies. Exorcist 3 is a little bit different. It has nothing to do with Exorcist 2, so you don't need to know anything about it, and in fact it is advised that you don't, because it is in fact bad for your health.
I was possessed by a demon.
Exorcist 3, however, takes place several years after the events of the first movie, and it follows friends of Father
Carrot
trying to figure out what happened to him. Along the way, this police officer discovers Father
Carrot
being kept in this hospital, but he has no memory of who he is, and in fact, he seems to believe that he is this man called the Gemini Killer, an active serial killer from years past who was actually executed. In fact, it was this very police officer who brought him to justice. So throughout the movie, we watch this police officer try to figure out what is going on. Physically, this man looks like Father
Carrot.
However, because he is possessed by the spirit of the Gemini Killer, the actor who portrays the Gemini Killer, Brad Dourif, best known for the Child's Play series,
You've been very naughty, Miss Kettlewell,
steps in and delivers some of the lines, and oh my god, is his performance just brilliant. I love Child's Play. However, it was not that series that made me fall in love with Brad Dourif as an actor. It was this movie. It was the way that he goes from screaming to crying to laughing to happy, and it's just terrifying to watch the way that he can just move through these emotions in such a seamless manner.
Oh, gracious me. Was I raving? Please forgive me. I'm mad.
Yes,
Is Jason Miller
returns to play Father
Carrot.
and he's the much more soft-spoken victim role to Brad Dourif's more out there villainous screaming all the time. And this movie, while it can be slowly paced, well, it's mostly dialogue, it gives us a villain that makes us want to keep watching until the very end, and for that, I cannot help but recommend this movie.
It's a wonderful life, in fact. For some.
Oh my god, there are so many. It was so hard to narrow it down to just 5. I know that you guys can come up with a few ideas as well, so make sure to leave them in the comments down below. I wanted to give a special thanks to NSC CAMPOS for joining me here today. I'll be linking his channel in the description box down below, so make sure that you check out his videos. But for now, thank you so much for joining me, my pets, and I will see you next time.
Oh, I love trash.
Although donating to my Patreon is unnecessary, it is hugely appreciated. As little as $3 a month could help me put out many more videos. In that note, I would like to thank Wilson L. Ricks III, Scott Falks, and Andre K. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. I can't wait to see you all next time.